Hello everyone, I'm here to discuss the most important current affairs of today from UPSC and State PSC point of view. Before I begin, I would like to request you to subscribe to my channel and never miss any update. So without a further ado, let's begin. Our first topic is about a species in news. It is a rare freshwater soft-shell turtle. Its botanical name is Nelsonia nigricans. The IUCN status of this species is critically endangered. It is important to note that it is not covered under the Wildlife Protection Act and has been traditionally hunted for meat and cartilage. So recently, the Hayagriva Madhava Temple of Assam signed an MOU for conservation of this species of turtles along with Assam State Zoo, Kamrup District Administration and two NGOs, namely TSI and Help Earth. So TSI is Turtle Survival Alliance India. The Hayagriva Madhava temple is revered by both Hindus and Buddhists. It lies 30 km northwest of Guwahati. The next article is about the Allahabad High Court stating that the High Court does not bar live-in relationships. So in the light of this article, let us take a look at the previous year question which is somewhat related to this topic. So the question is, which article of the Constitution of India safeguards one's right to marry the person of one's choice? So the options are Article 19, Article 21, Article 25 or Article 29. So let us have a look at each of these articles individually. Article 19 guarantees the freedom of speech and expression. Article 21 guarantees right to life and personal liberty. Article 25 declares freedom of conscience and free profession, practice and propagation of one's religion. And Article 29 is protection of interests of minorities. So the correct answer to this question is Article 21, which is the right to life and personal liberty. Now this is an editorial which discusses the twists and turns in the India relationship with Russia and how Russia remains a mute spectator to China's geopolitical designs. The details of the editorial can be summarized by the recent developments in the Indo-Pacific and Russia's response to it. The article mentions Quad. Quad is actually a multilateral group formed by India, Japan, USA and Australia. The Quad also undertook a Malabar exercise in December 2020. The Malabar exercise is a naval exercise. The objective of Quad is to safeguard the interest of democratic nations in the Indo-Pacific region. You can see the Quad countries on the following map. Another important group mentioned in the article is the BRICS. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. It was founded in June 2006. It held its first meeting in 2009. It is not an organization but exists as annual summits. In 2021, the host of BRICS Summit was India. The acronym BRICS was coined in 2001 by Jim O'Neill, who is an economist. A major outcome of BRICS was the NDB, which is the New Development Bank, which was formed at the 6th BRICS Summit in Fortaleza 2014. The headquarters of New Development Bank are in Shanghai, which is in China. Another important point about the New Development Bank is that it is an observer in the United Nations since 2018. The New Development Bank provides loan to the member nations for infrastructure, sustainable development, clean technologies, etc. Another important point about the New Development Bank is that all members of the United Nations can become members of the New Development Bank, but the share of BRICS can never be less than 55% of the total voting power. Let us also look at the BRICS CRA. Now CRA is Contingency Reserve Agreement which aims to provide short-term liquidity support to the members through currency swaps for financial stability. The initial corpus of the Contingency Reserve Agreement of the BRICS is $100 billion. The next article is about the Cultural Ministry celebrating Yoga Day at the heritage monuments of our country as a part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So first let us look at the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So it is a campaign which was started on 12th of March 2021 to celebrate 75 years of India's independence, which will fall in 15th of August 2022. The celebration began from the Sabarmati Ashram as a Dandi March to celebrate 91 years of Dandi March. The historical Dandi March was undertaken by Mahatma Gandhi to perform civil disobedience against the oppressive salt tax, which was 14 times the value of salt at that time. The Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav campaign will end on August 15, 2023. Talking about the International Yoga Day, it is celebrated each year since 2014 on the 21st of June. This year's International Yoga Day theme was Yoga for Well-being. This is an interesting article which talks about the Twitter, Google and the Facebook trio staring at higher tax bills. Under the new IT rules, digital overseas companies Google, Facebook and Twitter are told to appoint a nodal compliance officer. Tax department could argue that this is equivalent to permanent establishment and they could be liable to pay 25% to 42% tax on entire income generated in India. Currently, they are paying 6% equalization levy, which has been in existence since 2016 on advertising revenue and 2% on digital transactions. The term permanent establishment is actually a concept in taxation in which a country has the right to tax a multinational company's income and decide the extent of it. Our next article is about Australia seeking clarity on Agricultural Infrastructure Fund and cotton subsidies of India. One might think why Australia is concerned with our nation subjects, but in reality, there are certain laws about the international trade party to the World Trade Organization has to comply with. Now let us read about the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund or AIF. So AIF is a medium to long-term debt financing facility for investment in viable projects for post-harvest management infrastructure and community farming assets. Note the terms medium to long-term debt financing and post-harvest infrastructure management. The example of some viable projects under the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund are cold stores, warehouses, e-marketing points, etc. It was launched under the Atmanirbhar Bharat project. The duration of the AIF is from 2020 to 2029, that is 10 years. Rupees 1 lakh crore has been allocated for the AIF. The moratorium period for this project is minimum of 6 months and a maximum of 2 years. The interest subvention which is guaranteed under this scheme is 3% per annum up to rupees 2 crore for a maximum period of 7 years. So these are some details that you should remember about the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Another important point related to it is that the credit guarantee under this scheme is provided by CGTMSE. Do comment in the comment section about what is the full form of CGTMSE. The article also mentions the fact that India has asserted that its cotton support has not exceeded the de minimis provisions of the WTO. So let us read about the de minimis provision of the WTO. It requires developing countries to limit their amount of money spent by them on the agricultural production to 10% of the production output. To better understand this, we need to read about WTO subsidies. So WTO classifies subsidies into the following three categories: green box, blue box, and amber box. Green box subsidies are the least market distorting subsidies. For example, income support, which is not crop specific. In India, PM Kisan scheme is the best example of a green box subsidy. This kind of a scheme is quite prevalent in the USA. The next is blue box scheme. It is used for limiting production. It is prevalent in the European Union. The next type of subsidy is the amber box. It is trade distorting in nature and needs to be curbed. An example of amber box subsidy is the MSP or the minimum support price, which is crop specific. The member countries need to report their amber box subsidies regularly. These provisions ensure a free and fair international trade environment for all the nations. So that will be all from my side today. Do write in the comment section if you want to know a particular topic of daily current affairs in detail. Thank you all.